Hey, welcome back to Learning Self-Reliance. Today we're going to be talking about the LDS Preparedness Manual. This is an awesome, fairly large book. One of the best things about this book is that it's available online for free. So I'll include a link down below for that. You just go to their website, put in your email, get a PDF for free. So if you like this book, you can get it over on their site for free. And if you really like it, as I do, you can buy a physical copy from them. I'll put the price up on here. I think it's like 30 or 40 bucks, something like that. Totally worth it in my opinion. Really good book. I like having a physical copy of a book for an emergency because it doesn't require an electricity or something to work. You know, I could put it on my phone or my tablet or something like that, but that requires power. Let's take a quick look through the table of contents here. This thing just covers so much stuff. This is a book oriented towards LDS church members, which is commonly known as Mormons, but this has huge amounts of really good stuff besides that. Most of the book is that, and this is a conglomeration of lots of different authors and articles and things like that that they've put together here. You can see all these different authors that are going on here, right? So it covers basics of like food storage, different types of food storage that you need, like grains and legumes, sugar, milk, fats and oils and things like that. Got a cool typing error there. Talking about like processing and preservation of foods. This thing also goes over to things like communications, the radio spectrum, 72-hour emergency kit. It even talks about things kind of like a bug out bag, clothing, shelter, sanitation, testing your preparedness, which I'm a huge fan of. I mean, you need to really test out your gear, because if you don't test out your gear, it's not going to function for you the way you imagined it in your head. You got to actually test it out. And I've got some mock bug out series and things of myself learning stuff about that, trying it out myself. One of the main themes in this book is becoming self-reliant, seeking to be independent, right? So this book focuses on like setting money aside, paying off debts and things like that. It also encourages you to have a year's supply of every needful thing, right? So of food and sanitation and things like that. It's nice because it's got this general preparedness survey in here of just all these simple little questions, so you can kind of figure out exactly where you are and how prepared you are and where you kind of need to go with this. This is a fantastic book for starting preppers, people who are just getting started in this. This is a fantastic book. The LDS Church does sell food in cans and things like that. So it's got this, here you can buy like rice and oats and things like that, which is really good. This book is from 2012, so it does mention some prices in here. So those will have changed a bit. It's 2017 right now, and the prices have gone up quite a bit. So this is their bare minimum LDS food storage requirements. For one adult male, for 1 year, approximately 2,300 calories per day. I burn probably a bit more than that. I'm a pretty tall guy, so I probably burn closer to 3,000. But talks about 400 pounds of grains, 90 pounds beans and legumes, 75 pounds of milk, dairy products, 20 pounds of meat, 20 pounds fats, oils, 60 pounds sugars, 90 pounds fruits, vegetables, auxiliary foods like vanilla extract to improve the flavor of powdered milk and things like that. And then it's got some conversion here for an adult female, multiply the weight by 0.75. So 3/4 of what an adult male would need. Here they've got a nice picture of this is the basic recommendation for a 1 year supply for one person. It shows it's got oils, legumes, powdered milk, sugar, honey, and then tons of grains down here. So this is like the bare minimum. This is not, you're not going to have a very good time eating this, honestly. This small variety here, you're going to be real sick of it real quick. It's got this basic food storage list here, so you can go through and check off different kinds of grains that you've got. So this is fantastic to go through, because you could just read through this real quick, check some stuff off, and then you can say, oh, I did forget to get, you know, some extra ham or something like that, right? Put back some canned ham or something like that. And then they've got this long-term storage master food list, which is a huge list of just tons of different things that you're probably going to want to set back. So you can really just go through and double check yourself and make sure you've got things that you really need. In here they've got this more common 1 year supply. So instead of that bare minimum, this has got a whole heck of a lot more variety that they've got going on here. So like cereal, cornmeal, flour mixes like pancake and muffin mixes, oats, pasta, rice, wheat, much better, right? Instead of just having a whole bunch of wheat, you've got all this variety of grains that you can eat. So this has got several different options for each so that you can check out what you have and make sure to shore up in the little varieties or things that you're missing. They've got a monthly food storage purchasing calendar. So this is hoping to keep the cost between $35 and $45 per week and slowly building up your food storage plan. Fantastic for starters, right? And this is all stuff that you can just buy at your local store, right? You don't have to buy this through the LDS church, even though you could buy quite a few of the beans and things like that through the church. All right, so this is a what they call the real world 1 year emergency food supply, and this I would love to have something like this. I'm definitely not here. I'm more of the basic kind of person myself, but they've got the different prices increases that they've seen from 2008 all the way up to 2012. Got this nice variety. It does mention brands in here, but you know, having the specific brand really isn't that important. Just anything generic that would fulfill that would be much better. All right, then they've got different things like different types of grains that you could store and the pros and cons of each, you know, just kind of general information about each of them. Talks about like all-purpose flour and what all-purpose flour is, and then whole wheat flour. I've definitely got more like this myself. I've got the wheat berries, as it's called, the grains, and I have a grinder and stuff, grind them up and use those. That's kind of my plan. I do know a lot of people will have wheat and stuff set back, but they don't have a grinder for it. You can buy a decent grinder, a hand grinder, for about, I think, like $60 or something like that. I'd highly recommend getting an electric one. I've got the Blendtec grinder myself. I've done a video with that, and I love that thing. It worked really well. But it does require electricity, but I do have a plan for at least to try to get some of that going, grinding of wheat and things like that. Moisture control, talking about how to control moisture in your food storage. Super important. That moisture and the oxygen also is going to totally destroy your food if you leave that exposed to that. I mean, I could just go through every page in this is good. I'm like having a hard time skipping over stuff. This is going to be a long video. It's just got so many details. This has got the cooking times and the yield so you got your 1 cup dry grain, how many cups of water, cook time, and then how much it yields. You know, that's really important for knowing how many people you're cooking for, what recipe you're doing, you know. It's got the same thing for beans and legumes, right? Beans, my wife and I have been learning how difficult it can be to really cook beans well. Like, it's almost like you got to soak them overnight or pressure cook them or something like that to really get them to be, you know, that really good texture, nice and soft. All right, so I'm going to skip forward quite a bit here. This has got all sorts of stuff about food. I mean, we've got, you know, it's talking about MREs. You know, this thing is just all over the place. Now we get into like bug out bags, right? So this is, it starts to go through kind of the general idea behind a bug out bag, and then the kind of things that your bug out bag is going to need to confront, you know, dehydration, starvation, getting yourself food, keeping yourself warm, different things like that. Then they start to get into the items, you know, boots, eye protection, gloves, coats, fire starters, all over the place. All right, now we start to get into things like radio, right? It's talking about ham radio, the radio spectrum, how antennas work and what kind of antenna you need, different kinds, just this general cost, ease of use, and range and things of different types of radios that you could go with. It's got the nice little cheat sheet here for the FRS, what the actual channels, the Walmart radio, the walkie-talkies, they have the channel, you know, channel 6 is actually 462.6875, right? Different things like that. Talks about how to make a communication plan, use repeaters around you and things like that. Talks about getting out of debt, which is super important. I mean, just the last thing you need is to spend a little bit of money you've got on debt or something like that, instead of putting back supplies during an emergency. Talks about antibiotics and their use and what kinds to store. Talks about using expired medications and things like that. I mean, this book is just chock full of stuff. I've read through most of it, and I especially liked the food storage area. It was just so detailed about all the specifics, every step that you would need to take to get stuff to be properly stored for a long time. Talking about battery chemistry and shelf life of different types of battery, different types of generators, how to generate electricity, clothing, and then even talks about washing clothing, different types of soaps and things that you're going to need to wash your clothing so you can do it yourself. Goes through the different 3 minutes without breathing, 3 hours without shelter, right? The general rules about just survival. It's even got some survival information here, you know, in addition to that bug out bag. Talking about different types of water purification. This is really important because the CDC has one single recommended way to purify water, and that is through distillation. They don't recommend like a filter. They don't recommend boiling it. They do distillation only because like Hurricane Katrina and things like that, there was oil and gas all over the place. So the only way to get rid of that is through distillation, right? This talks about all these different options, but that's one thing I've thought about is if the water is poisoned with things like oil or gasoline or something like that, the only way to get that out is distillation. And it's got a section about surviving in the city, different risks for living in the city, different ways to find water and resources in a city. It's got different things about talking about how to talk to children about survival and not scare them, teaching children without scaring them and things like that. Medical quarantine instructions, chemical and biological weapons, nuclear disaster. It's even got a section here talking about lessons from Argentina's economic collapse. I haven't read this section, but that sounds really fascinating. I've been paying a lot of attention to Venezuela right now. They are having so many problems with their socialist country. Man, it is just amazing how bad things can go. But it's also impressive how, people don't even get food, but they're still not quite that chaos. They're still holding on to that hope, that socialist hope. It's impressive. Well, some people are. First-hand account of long-term SHTF survival in Bosnia. Awesome information. First-hand accounts are so useful because it's fascinating how quickly things can change. It can just be a couple days and suddenly the world is completely different. All right, that is the book here. I tried to go through it really quick, but there is just tons of information. Again, this is free. I'll include a link down below. You guys can download that PDF and read through this thing. But I love this book, and it's got just so many details in it that you just don't think about. And it's just got all these conversions and how much you need and how to store it. And it really just a lot of good information in there. Highly recommend this book. All right, guys, thanks for watching.